Good afternoon, everyone. You're now tuned into a reasonable conversation on Nusound Radio 92 FM. I'm Prerna, and I'm joined in the studio with Satish and Vivek, and we'll be with you till 1 p.m. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon to yourself, Ben, and to everybody else.
Yeah, afternoon, everyone. Lovely day, isn't it? Really
it's
nice.
Beautiful. Kind of makes me think we shouldn't be talking about the topic we're going to be talking about today, which is domestic violence and violence against women. It is a bit of a hard subject,
but an important one.
We're also going to be talking to Diana Nammi a bit later. She's the executive director and founder of the Iranian Kurdish women's rights organisation. So we'll be talking to her after our first commercial break. But if you want to, ask her any questions or ask us any questions or contribute to the discussion, our number is
07961 387 787. And you can call us on our studio line on 0208 472 9292, or you can tweet us at nusound92fm. We'll be keeping an eye on all three of those channels of communication, and we look forward to your views.
Definitely. Right. So for all our listeners out there, and for you too, I'm sure everyone knows that it was International Women's Day last Saturday. So we thought today would be a good, time to talk about women's rights and what's going on. And there's some actually really shocking statistics out there. I think, as we go about our daily lives, we think, we're living in the UK, it's a democratic country, we believe in human rights, but actually 1 in 4 women in the UK will be a victim of domestic violence in their lifetime. On average, 2 women a week are killed by a current or former male partner. And there's nearly 3,000 cases of honour violence per year in the UK, with London having the highest amount of honour violence, which is quite shocking. 3,000 a year.
You said 2 killings a week. This is in the UK?
Yep, in the UK on average. Okay. And this is taken from the Office for National Statistics in 2011 and 2012. So
my goodness, okay.
They're quite shocking statistics.
I mean, I would never have expected it to be that bad.
What are your opinions on this? Why do you think it happens so much in the UK? We believe in human rights, a democratic country.
I think this is one of those symptoms of a society which has got its purpose slightly confused. I think there is so much pressure on youngsters to be something that they're not, and the deeper emotional evolution and the development of characters, that's a lot harder thing to do. Marriage is an incredible journey, and it's one in which I think everyone highlights and discovers the good sides of their nature and the sides of their nature which need to be worked upon in hopefully a loving relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I was always under the impression that it was more to do with education and upbringing. And if you're brought up from a certain culture where women are seen as less equal and inferior to men, and men kind of, they're, as you were saying, the provider, but also are more important than women, that in turn that fuels violence, because you think women are inferior to you. They're like a property, they're an object, you can do as you please.
But the figures are shocking.
It is a problem, because if these figures are so bad, it's stunning. Yeah. I mean, there are laws there to protect women. I mean, we've got equal rights to men, but unfortunately, it's very hard to get convictions. I mean, for example, female genital mutilation is illegal in the UK, but it happens so often. Like, girls are taken abroad to, undergo these horrible procedures, but we've never had one conviction.
Yeah, and I think with laws, they're there to punish the people who break them, but by the time they've been broken, it's already too late. That poor lady somewhere has already suffered. It's.
We do need some form of justice. I know the damage is already done, but I mean, to have something there so people know that this is a crime, it can't be committed, I think is really important. I'm sure we'll be talking to Diana a bit more on that as well, which would be quite interesting to hear her views.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Pramod has texted and he said, it's a man's world and the aggressor will always intimidate the weaker sex.
I think that's a part of it, but I think, this perception that it is a man's world.
Yeah, do we think it's a man's world?
I think there are some parts of the world which are definitely a man's world.
No, but
hopefully as humanity evolves, then those men who are making it a man's world, hopefully they should realise that there is something missing in the absence of an equally empowered female component in this world. The two bring totally different experiences of existence into life.
Exactly, and women make up half the population, so by ill-treating half of the world's population, I don't think men are going to get very far.
Totally. I think if it is a man's world and it is a man's environment, then that's something that really needs to evolve a bit more, and I think we're seeing that now.
We've got a text from Anji who said, a man will ill-treat a woman if he can get away with it. A woman should stand up to bullies, which is quite interesting. And that's from Anji. Thank you very much for your text. I think it depends. I mean, but sometimes if a woman is in a situation where, her passport's not there, she's away from her family, and she, maybe doesn't speak the language.
In a patriarchal society, it's really hard to.
Exactly. I mean, if we're talking about the UK, though, it might be difficult for some women to gain access to help or get the confidence We got a text in from Manjeet who said, did you know that there is more violence when someone loses a football team? When someone's football team loses a match.
Yeah,
which is
fair to say.
Which is quite believable. Satnam Singh from Ilford said, what gives men the right to control women? Which is very true. I don't think men have a God-given right to control women. We're all equal.
Yeah, I think that's true. But
I mean, a relationship isn't about control.
No, sure.
We're going to take a quick commercial break now, and on the other side we'll be talking to Diana Nammi, who is the director of the Iranian and Kurdish Women's Rights Organisation. Do keep your text coming in to text her. It's 07961 387 787.
New Sound Radio 92 FM.
Hello everyone, welcome back to A Reasonable Conversation with me, Satish and Prerna. We're talking about gender-related violence today.
All right, and we're very lucky today to have a very special guest that we'll be talking to. Her name's Diana Nammi. She's the executive director and founder of the Iranian and Kurdish Women's Rights Organisation. Diana has been named on a list of 150 women who shake the world, and she's also recently won an award for Women on the Move in 2014. Hi Diana, how are you? Great to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
No, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your recent award.
Oh, thank you. It has been amazing. And of course, I have to say that all my achievement is not personally only mine, but I achieved so much because of the help of people around me and founders and media and those people really that contributed toward ending violence against women. So whatever I win during this few years and achieved, it is due to the support that I have from everyone.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you for them.
Brilliant. So tell us a bit more about your organisation. What made you start the charity? Was it in 2002 you founded the Iranian and Kurdish Women's Rights Organisation?
Yes, that's right. I am Kurdish from Iran myself, and unfortunately many of those kind of violence, like domestic violence, forced marriage, honor killing, those kinds are become like a routine and norm in the communities, and you can hear it every day. There is no support for women. By law, women are not entitled to any support, and actually government even give the support to perpetrators because all those issues related to the family, which family can deal with that. So government just don't take any responsibility, and safety of women is not a matter for them.
That's terrible.
They left it. It is, and the perpetrators of honor killing, they have been considered as a hero and very respectful within the community. So this situation created kind of a pressure upon those people who are against that, and they cannot be very openly active or talking about against that because they will be considered as a political activist and they will be arrested by government. So it was the country that I came from. And of course, my imagination of Europe was that women's rights are highly implemented and respected. So the issues of honor-based violence, forced marriage, I couldn't imagine that those things happening in the UK.
I know, it's terrible.
And I was very shocked when I came here, and my own interpreter, her name was Sophia Nader, she was killed by her husband and in-laws because he suspected that she is flirting with one of her colleagues. Then they took her back to Iraqi Kurdistan, they killed her there. I remember she's supposed to come with me to enroll my child in school, and she didn't turn up. So I called her office and I asked about her, and they told me that Sophia is dead. I was, of course, extremely upset because she was very young, very, very open, lovely woman, no sign of any illness. So I thought it may be a road accident or so, which I asked the same with, but they told me that her husband take her back to Iraq and killed her. I sought help from a friend of mine that could speak English. So at that time I couldn't speak a word of English. So through my friend we asked police, and I just wanted to make sure that police knows about that case and if they know what they have done. And I was more shocked when police told me that the incident happened in Iraq, not in the UK, and because of that, they cannot do anything. And I told them that she and her husband both were a British citizen, and the husband, I heard that he returned back to the UK. And they told me that we cannot again, there is nothing we can do.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was horrible. And I felt, I felt it was a question in my mind that if she was a white British woman, would police say the same again, which later on we found rightly that they investigated many other cases that they were missing or killed in other countries, and they should do the same for Sophia. But even worse, when I told them that it was a case of honor killing, police told me that it is your culture and we cannot do anything. We have to respect your culture, otherwise you will label us as a racist.
Extraordinary.
It was extraordinary things to hear. I was very shocked. And I told them, if you don't do anything, this is racist. And police just was not interested. So it was then I decided to set up an organization, make it short, it was too long, set up the Iranian and Kurdish Women's Rights Organization to support women when they are at risk of any form of violence, and to raise awareness within police and authority, campaigning for changing the law and policy, and especially the issues which discriminated women from minority community as we have been related to our religion or our culture, which it was not fair, and we should have access equally to the same rights and entitlement as the British women, and have access to the existing law.
No, definitely. I mean, since you've started up the charity, I know you've mentioned how horrible the police were in dealing with this. I mean, have you seen any improvement?
Of course, we have seen lots of improvement. I mean, if now, after 11 years, our campaigning and working, if we compare now with 10 years ago, of course, things have changed dramatically. I have to say that ICRO was kind of the first women organization. We loudly talked about honor killing, and we didn't consider the culture of the community or religion of the community, but women's rights, safety, equal opportunity, human rights was the base of our work regardless. We wanted to help everyone regardless of their culture, their background, their religion. And for us, safety was the main and most important issue to deal with. And we managed to make that happen within police, many other organizations, including voluntary and community organization, in government agenda now on base violence, forced marriage, female genital mutilation, and all of them become part of the agenda. And within police, of course, still they have got lots of failure, but then there are lots of improvement, and we are glad that at least most of them, not all of them, still most of them, they know what is honor-based violence. Some of them are very good in dealing with cases, but still there are lots of gaps and lots of problems, both within statutory services and voluntary organizations.
Oh, it's such a shame to hear. I was going to ask, you did mention that the police are kind of hesitant to look into this because they think it's a kind of a cultural and a religious thing. I mean, are you of the same opinion as well, that this does happen because it is culture and religion that makes men think that they could treat women in this way?
Yes, this is unacceptable, and it was one of our campaign and still is, because still many people, cannot distinguish between cultural sensitivity with cultural relativism, and this is part of the very old policy about the multicultural. Of course, multicultural about Britain is nice, is good, and I think one of the beauty of the UK is being multicultural. But crime is not part of the culture. Crime should be considered as a crime, and this is the distinguish we need to understand. And being sensitive about different culture, it's really important, because some messages for a culture can be very normal, but in another community can be even very dangerous. So there are things that we are still struggling, and it's part of our campaign political correctness, again, which allow lots of community to deal with their issue within the community. This ghettoizing community, this makes community to still be kept in a very backwarded culture, not adopting kind of modern culture and using the modern system that everyone should be used. So I think, this issue is still part of the policies, and we are trying to change those. In my opinion, the issue of political correctness actually is opposite, and it is political wrongness.
No, definitely. Because, if with these communities we keep saying, we can't tackle these issues because, it's racist or politically incorrect, then we're never going to be able to, get to the root of the problem and help these women.
Exactly. And many women, like myself, we fled our country because, we have been not been treated equally. We have been at high risk of execution or persecution for our activities. If in the UK still we be treated in the same way, then the safety even for those people are under question, and it is at risk and jeopardizing our safety. And I'm afraid under political correctness, government mainly are listening to the group in power within the community, not women and children and vulnerable groups. And this group needs to be here, needs to be supported. This is what we are trying to change the policies, and government and politician and other organization to really take care of the safeguarding and welfare of vulnerable people and children, especially women at risk of gender-based violence, and children who are at risk again of many backwarded practices and traditional practices.
Yeah, you mentioned briefly FGM, and even though this does happen in the UK, we haven't had one single conviction of FGM. Why do you think that is? It's still really difficult for the police in pursuing these crimes.
But I think it's not difficult, but the way that they are dealing with those cases, in my opinion, has not been correct. The approach is very important. If we have millions of beautiful law, but to not work with the community and to not raise awareness within the community about those laws, it doesn't help them. I think FGM was like that. Government has had a law, but it was just a law for police and other for government or for the justice system, whereas in the community we need to do work within the community, to raise awareness within the community, educate them about this law, why it's wrong, why we criminalize that, why FGM is harmful for people, for girls. So when people still are not aware of that, then they will find that law against themselves and not cooperate with that. So I think learning experience from FGM criminalizing law, we have to be very, very careful in developing other law which is targeting very practical issues within the community. The major issue is to raise awareness within the community, giving confidence and support to those who are against that, because I am sure not all communities are practicing forced marriage or FGM, female genital mutilation. They are not the majority, they are minority, but those minority had always had lots of power and pressure with religion, with, tribal laws, and even it's systems that supported them. They had always power over the majority of the community. So we need to change that, working with the community, empowering them, empowering children themselves to come and talk about that. Children from age 5, 6, 9, they know that they can be at risk of FGM, they can be at risk of forced marriage. They know the problem is there, but they don't know where to go to support. They don't know what is their right. So it's no right. We have to make sure that children are educated, and these issues need to be part of the education curriculum, part of the health issue, sexual and health issue, and make every child aware of their rights and entitlements. And school, again, is a huge link with community. We started recently to work with the this year, actually, we contacted many schools. 16 of them responded to us, invited us to provide workshops and lectures to children. It has been extremely important and very effective. And the children, they were not scared of that. And many of them gave example and supported. And not only that, from those schools, we have been invited to go to coffee morning and talk to parents. And unbelievably, all those parents, we had 1 hour, but we spent more than 2 hours in each school because they didn't let us go. They wanted to talk. And this is what we are talking about, to make community to be in our side, not to be silenced, not to be under pressure by the other group of community who practicing this kind of very barbaric practices. And really, I am playing that schools and education system to support organizations work like ICRO, like Nirvana, and many other organizations to stop that kind of brutal practices within their school, safeguarding the children, and also working within the community.
Diane, this is Satish. Thank you so much for sharing the story about your time here and also the achievement that your group is making. It's absolutely really heartening and encouraging to hear. But I have a question for you, which I think you've probably got a unique perspective on. And that is that Prerna, she mentioned at the beginning that in the UK, the statistics for domestic violence and violence against women seem to be increasing. And you're also from a different culture to the UK, and yet you're also talking about the same phenomenon. Being a person who's seen now at least 2 cultures, have you come across anything which you think is common to both cultures, which could be causing this violence towards women and domestic violence?
Of course, gender-based violence is the same. It's happening within any cultures, and I think it's very patriarchal. A system still is working, still is men prior to women, and in some communities, of course, is more brutal, different practices from very, very, very old age still came and working here. But domestic violence is something similar that between all communities is happening. And, pardon me, it doesn't matter if it's within white community or black community, Asian or Middle Eastern, it's the same, similar. Then the issues of women to be substituted to men, it's very similar. Many of the issues that happening is similar, or I have to say that many of those practices, like harmful practices that is happening in many other countries, like Middle Eastern or South Asian, it used to be happening in the UK.
No, definitely.
Not long time ago, women has been burned up for being getting pregnant out of marriage. The latest laundry was just closed in 1996 in Ireland. So those things has been moved and changed away in some communities in white British society. And what is we are hoping that from other society this to be changed. And also domestic violence. I think one of the issues that make it increase, it is community and women themselves. They are not trying to seek help and not suffer in silence. And they are reporting this is increased both within minority communities and generally all British society, which this is encouraging. Women themselves and girls, they don't want to tolerate and they don't want to suffer violence, so they seek help. And it is another reason for increasing the statistic or the number of reported violence, which I am hoping that during the last few years it has been lots of activities against violence against women and by government and its organization and many other organizations. It was an issue that always have been on the agenda, and we are trying really to make it even bolder and not let it go. So hopefully it will be even more attention to change that situation and the safety to be respected for everyone.
Oh, I hope so too. I was just going to say, you mentioned that the UK, we have lots of laws that do protect women, I saw an interview where you were talking about Sharia law as well. I mean, as you all know, Sharia law does apply in family law in the UK, but that could also be discriminatory against women too.
Oh, you are very right, and I am very agree with that. I have to say that unfortunately Sharia law is not treating women equally. Women has no equal rights for inheritance. Women has no equal rights for custody for children. Women has no equal rights for seeking divorce, for polygamy, and many other issues within the community, so Muslim community. So in the UK, when the government actually keep a blind eye, open the Muslim Sharia court, which more than 120 Sharia courts operating in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Governments say they are just mediating, whereas this mediation, in our opinion, become very, very dangerous. They are dealing with lots of issues that they shouldn't do, and they are simply discriminating women against their rights to the civil law, which civil law, and if we compare civil law with the Sharia law and other religion law, it's huge difference. So we are asking government really to observe fully all the Sharia courts and ban them if they are breaching Equality Act, which in my opinion they are breaching Equality Act fully.
Yeah.
And even against domestic violence, I have to say, issues related to domestic violence, I have to say that they force women who withdraw their complaint or normal station order, just forcing them to come to the court and face their husbands when he was extremely violent towards them and their children. Still, they try to force them to move together again.
Oh, that's terrible.
And this is the mediation. It is terrible. This is the mediation they are doing, and it's very dangerous. And many women are, for ages, they have been waiting for their divorce certificates, which Sharia courts didn't give it to them for ages, for few years, and they have been suffering because of that. Many times they had to go and come and pay lots of money. But then at the end, when the husband didn't approve, they didn't produce any divorce. So it seems that men can seek divorce under Sharia law millions of times, but they cannot get divorce unless the husband is divorcing them. So women actually has no any rights to divorce. And this is very important. It's forcing women to stay and stick with the violent husband. So it's not right, it's not equal. And because of that, I think government, I would actually strongly suggest government to regularly monitor those Sharia courts, and if they are, which in my opinion they are, breaking the Equal Act, they have to be banned from operating.
No, definitely, because I mean, it sounds really unfair. I mean, in divorce, it's also, I think there's complications with child custody, inheritance, and contractual disputes as well. I think women are kind of less equal to men in Sharia law.
And they are not equal. Women are like, it's belong to men. It's, it's like his house, his home, his household. Women is part of that. So, of course, it's not equal.
It is part of the politics of power, isn't it, really?
And Diana,
definitely.
We've got a text in from one of our listeners, from Satish. She said, thank you so much for doing all that you do for women. Is there anything women can do to protect themselves, as you can't change culture or religion?
I think culture or religion, I have different opinions. Religion have got a huge role in women to be second citizen of the community. And I cannot deny it. And if anyone really denies it, they are not thinking about equal rights or human rights. In my opinion, a religion can be something to not be allowed to be linked with political activity, to not be as an organized political organization. If religion is part of people's belief, they may choose to practice some of that or not all of that. We know that many women in different communities, Muslim community, they choose not to their hijab, for example. They believe in God. So if religion is private beliefs for individuals, it can be different from what it's operating as a political agenda now.
Yeah.
And I am very much against that, very much against religion to be involved in politics. And strongly, I believe that it should be private, personal, and not related to the law of the country. But culture is something that's, in my opinion, is the surface of many issues, very it's ideological issue. Religion itself has got its culture. Every political groups who have in power, they can have different cultures. So culture is something that can be changed within the community. As I gave the example, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, or 100 years ago, the culture of the British society has changed. And today is completely different. A girl, if become pregnant out of marriage 20 years ago, could ended up in the laundries. Now they will be supported by social service and families. So this culture has been changed because the law of the country has changed, because the education and knowledge of the society has changed. And this is something that we can change with other communities. And what we need really to make sure that people are fully educated about their rights, human rights, have law and policies in favor of them in the society, have access to that law, making community to be educated about, religion is a private issue, not a political stand. And political stand, when it's come to be like a organized fundamental, is something that needs to be isolated within the community and not allow them to create or reproduce very backwarded culture within the community.
No,
I'm afraid in some community now that they have good power and they reproduce very backwarded culture.
Diane, one of the best things about being in a multicultural society is that we get to mix and exchange ideas with so many different cultures from all over the world. And surely it has to be a sign of wisdom that we take what works and is good for everybody and then discard what seems to be causing so much suffering.
Oh, I agree with you, definitely. I say that multicultural in itself is not any wrong with that, and it's very beautiful. And people can learn from each other, different food, different celebration, different music, different language, different clothes. What is not acceptable in my opinion is that to not relate it or treat it or judging people on the basis of their culture or accepting unacceptable things within the culture.
No, definitely,
For example,
unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the show. I just wanted to give our listeners a chance to, if they wanted to, speak to you or get involved, or if they themselves are seeking help. I mean, is there anywhere they could go to?
Oh, definitely. They can go to our website, www.ikwro.org.uk, or our telephone number, 0207 920 6460. It's the landline. They can access us at any time. Through website, we have got few emergency number and out of hours number as well. They can find it. They can follow us on Twitter and also Facebook at IKWRO. So we will be very, very happy to have contact with anyone who are interested, have question or need help.
Anna, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for all the great work you do to help women.
Thank you
so much for joining us, Diane.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was Diana Nammi from the Iranian and Kurdish Women's Rights Organisation. Do stay tuned next week, same time, same place, where I'll be talking to Brooks Newmark MP on Syria.